Hello, and I guess I'm live now, as a lot of people say. Welcome to Life Clarifications with Natasha. I am here to be here to assist you in life and how you are working with yourself with the energies that we're having right now. And as we're going through life and managing life and doing what we're doing, it's just amazing who we are. Life has just been an amazing dance lately. And I know that a lot of us are being pushed around by the energies. A lot of us are struggling to be who we are. We're getting triggered by a lot of things. We're getting a lot of these ups and downs. But I want you to remember, though, that, it always comes back to us. No matter what you're doing, where you're at, life always comes back to us. What is this here to teach me? That's a great mantra to have, I think, in the nowadays, and it's been this way for a long time for me to have that mantra. What is this here to teach me? Because of the fact that, a lot of things happen and oh, there we go. Sorry about that on Instagram. Didn't mean to do that to you. I tapped a window and then comments. There we go. Get back to comments. Kind of messed up a bunch of things when I did that. But isn't that life, right? And, how do we judge that? How do we judge when something negative happens, right? And I apologize. My phone dropped because on Instagram I'm on. Hi, Veronica. Hi, Loon Singh. I hope I'm saying that right. And thank you for making comments on my posts, Loon. I've been seeing you, and I have not gotten back to you, and I apologize, but I thank you for the loving thoughts that you have. I'm here to support in a lot of those different dances. So with that, as we're going forward and as we're managing a lot of these situations, it seems like relationships. Today's conversation is going to be about relationships, and those relationships, that why are they here why are they with us? Why do we go through these relationships? Sometimes we have relationships where we have another half, our other half, husband, wife, girlfriend, boyfriend, just a relationship in that way, that's not our relationship with sister, brother, or parent. It's a relationship that's outside of us, right? And then they have a friend. Why do we have to have a relationship with them if we don't really like them, right? Well, there's a reason why we have these external friendships, external relationships, because it really helps us to learn how to have a relationship with ourselves in a way too. So as we're going forward and managing these relationships, that a lot of us like to blame the outside world for how the relationship goes on the inside of us, right? Well, they're doing this and they're doing that. And why are they doing this and why are they doing that? But when it comes back to it, is how are we reacting to those relationships? And it's not necessarily that, you know, that those outside relationships, husband or whatever it is not. Oop, I almost did it again, didn't I? That it's not necessarily that we aren't doing all wrong. I mean, we have some things that we need to do better. Like for me, I have to make sure that I have to finish my sentences, or remember to not text a certain person when I'm not in my better place to finish my thought, right? Because this other person jumps to conclusions or jumps to the negative side of life when I didn't mean it to go that way. And it's not that they're doing wrong, it's just who they are. So I need to remember myself to be patient with myself while texting them and make sure that I finish a thought, right? So it's not a quick little, oh, I'm getting in the car and I want to text. And what, no, 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 no. That person I almost probably need to call, or, that kind of stuff. So, what am I learning about that is to really check into my timing while I'm talking to other people, right? So these relationships are a really big process on communication, even. How do we communicate in a relationship? Because everybody has a different perception, right? Everybody has a different past that they get triggered in. So when we're talking about something that is very much a story of us, right? And here I want to make sure I get good volume here. That it's how do we negotiate these dances? And when should we end one? When should we continue with one? That I can't really tell you about because it's up to you and a personal choice, right? But I can tell you though that if we are getting messages about how, sorry, whew, I didn't mean to do that. Really, I didn't mean to do that. I've been kind of not sleeping well, and so I kind of took a nap before I came on, so I'm still kind of coming out of that. So I apologize for that because you guys are not boring at all. Been a lot around a lot of ins and outs today, and so I'm kind of and I had a couple of days I didn't take my vitamins, and so I'm trying to do my better today. So I apologize. That one just came over. Wow. So did I judge myself on that? No, I'm just informing you. You guys are amazing and brilliant, and I'm so grateful for you. So with that when we're in a relationship, really take heart in why do we do this? Because I know for me that there's a lot of my relationships that I'm negotiating with right now, and it's not negotiating in a bad way or good way. It's just negotiating, right? That we're in them. We were dancing with them. That a lot of them are about past lives. So with our past lives, many times we have these uh, you know thank you. Yawning moves energy. No need to apologize. Thank you, Sue. Susan, thank you very much for that. I appreciate that. So going forward, it's our past lives, negotiating contracts. I know for my husband and I, we've really came into this lifetime to really work on our contracts, to do better by ourselves, do better to ourselves and for each other. And communication again is very huge between us. So how do I make sure that I communicate? Well, I make sure, because he's very black and white and I'm very gray in my life. It's like he likes yes or no answers, and I like, well, this is the story around it. And, so the oil and water, type of thing. So how do you negotiate this? Well, it's about slowing down and communicating, because when we're working through contractual relationships, we do get triggered. We may get into the story of hurt or anger or frustration and victimhood. And if you can, please stay out of those dances while you're working in a relationship, because of the fact that when we get into victimhood in a relationship, that means that we've given our power over. Well, many of us are in relationships to learn how to stand in our own empowerment, at the same time having good boundaries with loving care and sending love, right? So hello on Instagram. And it's this process. Oh, and I wanted to say that if you are on Twitter, that I don't get comments. So if you want to say something, please can you come over to my YouTube channel, Natasha Venter AC. I would be grateful, and then you can make some comments, because this is a conversation. And doing these kinds of you know dances, that the relationships really can really support us, right? Now I know for me, I have in my lifetime here, have this is the first time I can say, in the last 20 years is the first time in my life that I actually can say I have good friends. I've always had friends. I've always had good friends, but I wouldn't say that I had those friends that would go with you a couple miles. You know what I mean? I had friends that would go with me, but not necessarily go with me for the mileage. And now I can say that I have these friends that are going the miles with me. And, you know, when you are able to get into that comfort zone, it takes vulnerability. And it takes a very big vulnerability to gain a good friendship. But that friendship is also a stretch and pull because we're not always perfect, right? So we have to make sure that our communication is clear. And how do we do that? Well, we kind of have to say what's on our mind in a more neutral place. In that neutrality, it's not necessarily, oh, I'll give you an example. Hey, so and so forgot to pick up something, and I didn't know if you wanted to take it with you because you go to that place very often, or do you want me to get them? And I can tell that that was an old story trigger, right? And so then there was the assumption that, hey, uh, it's not necessarily that, wait a minute, and I triggered the conversation, but it's how did I get back? I said, no, 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 no. I want to make sure this is clear that I just wanted to make sure that you weren't going to take them. That's all I was asking, right? So did you hear the tone in my voice? So, it is about how do you communicate through your words, right? Now, relationships are in our lives to teach us something. Usually, when we get triggered by something, it is an experience or a lesson that we are in need of learning. So, going into that relationship, there's something we need to learn about it, even if it's as simple as boundaries, right? As simple as it is with boundaries. Sometimes we have relationships so that we can learn to love in a different way, right? That, sometimes we don't understand love. Many of us, when we're growing up, we don't have or we have not learned how to love in our fullity, in the fullness of our lives, right? We learned very rigid love. We learned very rigid understanding of what love is. Well, if you do this for me, I'll love you through that. If if you tell me you love me, I'll love you. But if you don't tell me you love me, then I'm not going to love you. And so with that, going forward and doing this situation, it's not necessarily a negative or a positive thing, but how do we love? How do we figure out what that love is? And I know for me, going through part of my relationships that I've learned is that, divine love, it can heal and it can work through a lot. And that, that place of consistently being me can help me fall back into going, if somebody assumes something negative and I'm like going, is that negative? So if I can invite anything for you, try to do your better in relationships. Try to be consistent in your relationships. And if you are always feeling like you're the one who has to do all the work, all the moments, all the compassion, all the ingrained stuff, it's because you're probably with a partner or a friend who doesn't know better to do better. So what is the expectations that we have on these relationships? Sometimes we have to meet people where they're at, right? Because if they don't know better, to do better. So that's where if we don't want to be around them, we have to put up boundaries, right? Because sometimes, like Regan on Dance of the Soul on Mondays, he gave the example of how a coworker was triggered triggered by another coworker, and this relationship hadn't really been a deep friendship one, but it was one that they were coworkers, and so the one coworker walked in one morning, and the other coworker who had been there working was really triggered by the voice. Well, that voice was triggered because of a past life, right? And that past life really was not a healthy relationship between the two of them. So in this lifetime, they were coming together to work out to do things. And I can tell you, this is the lifetime that we're living right now. The lifetimes that we're human in this body in this timeline, if we're hooking up with relationships, it is time to heal these contracts. And the way you do that, when you're working through a contract, and a contract will, I'm going to give an example. A contract, if you don't know what contracts, when two souls come together, it's where you, before you come into this world, you kind of have a conversation with someone. I'm not going to get into details here. You sit down and you say, okay, in this lifetime, I want to help you become stronger you, because you've been living pretty weak lifetimes lately and you've been being walked over. So I want to help you be stronger. Right. And then the person who's being told that we need to be stronger, right, is telling the other person, well, I'm going to teach you to sit down a little bit and not over empower me, right? Or empower other people. You're going to need to learn your boundaries and not be too powerful. Okay, isn't that a good contract? You'd think it would be a good contract until you come into this world, and then I'm going to call Mo, the one that needed to work on getting a stronger boundary, and Lucas, let's say, the one that needs to learn to not be so controlling and so powerful. Well, here comes Lucas into the job, right? And looks at Mo, and Mo goes, oh crap, what is it about this person? They're really challenging me, right? And then you learn, Mo is sitting here going, oh, I don't like this person. What is it about this person? And Lucas comes in and says, hi, I'm your new boss. And Mo goes, oh crap. Okay, here I go. I have to choose. Do I stay in this job or do I leave? Well, that's a personal choice, right? But while Mo is sitting there thinking, do I run or do I go? Do I at least give it a chance, right? Well, the one way that you can take back your power is by inviting it. Walking up to Lucas, right? And say, hi, I'm Mo. How are you today? I'm so grateful you're here. What can we do to work together? What can we do to manage this together? I know this is all new to you. I've been here for a while. I can assist you in that journey, right? That's a good way to take your power back, right? And Lucas is here going, thank you. I appreciate that. But I'll do it myself. I know what I'm doing, right? Because he's coming in, learning how to stand back in his power. But of course, he's going to be powerful, right? So Mo, through the days, keeps going. Hey, Lucas, I see that you're really learning the ropes here. Is there any way I can help you, right? So there's those things. Or then, later in another week, Lucas comes up to Mo and says, hey, there's a project that needs to be done. Can you work 3 weeks of overtime? And Mo goes, actually, I have a vacation coming up and I really need to get ready for it. I will work 1 week of overtime, but not the last 2. But I will get the project going. And then Lucas goes, well, you're going to get fired then if you don't work it. Well, okay, but I'm giving you an offer, right? So how do you gain power with someone who is powerful? But it's that dance. How can you be one that doesn't necessarily scream and yell at that person? You may have to meet them that way. I'm not saying it's wrong, but I'm one that always likes to come in on the gentle side here. It doesn't always get me where I need to go. Sometimes I need to use a voice, right? I need to use a voice, but that's when I have to check into the timing of it, right? So I'm going to invite to you that when you're in a dance, I'm going to call it, because, I always consider life a dance. It's not necessarily, sometimes you're dancing to music you don't like, and that's like it's part of when you're going through something that doesn't really work well, or you're going through a really hard time, right? Or you're in the dance of things are working well, and you're dancing to good music, and that's where you have good rhythm, and it's a song you like, and life is going really good for you, right? So The dance of life isn't always easy, but how do we negotiate it when we're working with other people is take a breath and really check in. Am I reacting to this situation? Right? How am I reacting to this situation? Because people are in our lives to help us to learn, help us to move, help us to do anything, right? And they're great teachers. So who do they want to help us be? And sometimes we need to learn to stand in our own empowerment. That was me this lifetime. How can I stand in my own empowerment? Right? So what did I do? I called in, a husband who is a double Leo, right? So Leo lion. How does a lion roar, right? Where I'm a double Cancerian, a double crab. So how does a crab do in the waters? Sideways. So I've had to learn sometimes to be a crab that just walks forward, walks into it, so I can learn to be a stronger being, right? But it's not necessarily about, the jump in with both feet sometimes. We sometimes have to walk in to doing these relationships because it is checking in to see where somebody isn't, and that kind of stuff. I hope this is making sense. I hope that everybody is kind of making, that I'm making sense of why do relationships are in our lives. Why do I always pick the wrong person? Why do I always pick the wrong girl or the wrong guy? Right? Well, sometimes we pick the wrong. I'm going to use quotation marks because truly, are they wrong for you? Sometimes they're here to help us. The thing that we know when it was something that we were meant to go through is when we look back and we learn something from it. So I'm really inviting to you that you look back in your life and really see where these relationships have taught you something. you know so that's my question, right? So what was the question? Why are these people in my life? Well, you have to look back into your life and see, what did these people teach you? you know there is scenarios that we learn from them, right? It's one of those things, because Veronica here, I can tell that that this last one that you were with, you've gotten sober, you've gotten your feet underneath you, you've grown in your spirituality, and you're learning really good boundaries, and you're learning how to make decisions that you need to have under your feet, right? That you can't always trust the other person making decisions for you. So you have to check in with those decisions and see if they feel right with you. And are you willing to work through them? Right? So how can we negotiate these stories? There's somebody else, right? Who you're so right. Thank you, Veronica. That you these people, like, I can tell you, my husband, he really taught me how to be me, because he was such a sounding board, good, bad, or ugly. It doesn't, but at the same time, though, when I kept hearing the ugly, I had to shift that ugly into something positive, right? That how do I do that? By having conversation and making sure the person is ready for them. There's many a times I ask, "Hey, sweetheart, I need to have a conversation with you. Is this a good time?" Because many of us have conversations with people and it's not the right time. Have you ever thought about that? Having a conversation with somebody in the right timing for you and that other person, right? How can we negotiate that? Well, you ask, "Hey, is this a good time to have this kind of conversation?" Or, you know, if you're wanting to break up with someone, you're waiting for the right time. This is where I ask the universe. I really ask the universe, "Okay, universe, if I'm meant to have this conversation," and I believe in that divine God here, if I'm meant to have this if I'm meant to have this conversation about ending this relationship, please make sure that it happens, right? And then I have to voice, "Hey, I would really like to talk to you. Is there a good time?" And then how do you do it? What is your intention? Are you going to throw them under the bus? Or are you going to do it with some kind of kindness? Because I'm going to tell you that kindness does work. Not with everybody, right? Because there are some energy vampires out there. There are some narcissists out there. There are some scenarios out there, right? But I have to live with my own integrity. I have to live with my own knowings. I have to live with who I am. And that's the thing that I have learned living with. I'm going to tell you that there was many years my husband was a narcissist, right? So how did I live with that? Well, it taught me boundaries. It taught me to learn what was my own truth, right? It taught me who I was, because there's some things that he, when he was drunk, would tell me, and I'm like going, wow, where did that come from? I didn't think I was that person, right? And I really had to learn how to discernment. That's a good, oh, I'm really learning where discernment really, if you don't have discernment in life, you really are struggling, because discernment is huge. It's how do we speak, what do we speak, and how do we hear it, right? We discern how we hear it. So going forward, and how do we manage this scenario is not necessarily going to be a good, bad, or ugly, but we're in these relationships to really stretch and pull us. And I'm going to tell you, if you're looking for a twin flame, or if you're looking for a soulmate, they're going to be some of your best teachers, because not every soulmate is here to do better by you. Sometimes those soulmates are the ones that really stretch and pull us. So if you're willing to be in a soulmate relationship, it could be the best thing in the world with you. You can be in sync and everything is working for you. Or you can be in a soulmate that you're in sync half the time and in turmoil the other time, because you are trying to work through these contractual things that a soulmate likes to teach you. I'm going to tell you, my dad was my soulmate. We finished each other's sentences. We worked on, and we worked on these different things. We really did all these different dances. But he also was one that told me, Natasha, you got to think differently on this. What is your journey, right? So going forward, it's not necessarily, if I can give you anything in today's show, is about check in with discernment. Look that word up and really see how it plays in your life, right? How it maneuvers with you. Because that's going to be one of your greater helpers, is how do you discern your life? Do you discern your life in judgment, or do you discern your life with peace? Do you discern your life with victimhood, or do you discern your life with hey, I'm here to learn who I am? Because I'm going to tell you that the reason why us souls are on this planet, is to become more enlightened beings. And we're working on what is divine love. And that's why I was told on Monday's show to talk about love. And we're going to continue that conversation on Monday on Dance of the Soul with Regan Forston, is about love, right? And so I'm there live Mondays at 4 o'clock Pacific time, and Life Clarifications with Natasha on Wednesdays at 4 o'clock Pacific time. So look up what discernment is. See how you're discerning yourself, because discernment is not always about how do you speak it, who do you speak about, and that kind of thing. It's also how do we discern what we're learning? How do we process what we are, right? Because when we discern our lives in a better way, in a more less what's the word? Where you're always in conflict. There we go. In conflictable ways, right? So you're discerning yourself, you're discerning your life through conflict. Well, when you're discerning your life through conflict, you're always going to have conflict. And then you're going to pull people in contractually to have conflict with you, right? It's kind of like if you're asking for patience, well, you're gonna bring people in that are going to teach you how to have patience. If you're wanting to learn about divine love, you're going to learn, you're going to have experiences, people are going to come into your life to teach you about how to love, which means some of them are going to be unloved or unlovable, because you're going to learn how to love even the unlovable. So going into this scenario about relationships, remember that they're in our lives to teach us, to show us, to uplift us. Some of them are to level us up in our soul's journey. Some of them want to pull us down again to make sure that we're able to say, no, that's not my journey. I'm being pulled back up, right? So, and some of them are our mirrors. They're showing us who we are, right? So if someone is always saying, hey, Natasha, you're always angry. Well, they're mirroring that we're always angry, right? So checking in with these relationships, I would say look at them. If you can, and if you have a theme of relationships, that's probably showing who you are. It's showing who you are. So I would invite you to really sit down and witness, not judge, but witness your life about what are these things here to teach me? Who is in my life to teach me? And if you can, if you're a writer and you like to write, I would even ask the question, what have I learned from these people? Because that is the true meaning of having somebody in your life, is what did they teach me? It could be verbally, it could be emotionally, it could be spiritually, it could be humanly, it could be about boundaries, it could be about self-love, it could be about trusting, it's about how to be vulnerable, it's about how to be knowing my knowings. Whose truth am I talking, right? And I'm going to tell you that there's a lot of people out there right now on a lot of podcasts that are not really speaking a lot of truths. They're speaking other people's truths. And I'm going to tell you that everything that you hear from me in these podcasts are something that I've stretched and pulled and navigated myself. 32 years of a relationship with my husband. As many years as I've been alive, being an only child. How have I learned how to have a relationship when I didn't even have somebody to have a relationship when I was younger, right? So I had to learn how to have relationships. How to have a relationship with a girlfriend that came into my life, and all of a sudden within weeks we knew each other and we trusted each other. We stretched and pulled and we did the dance, and we're still deep friends today, all these years later. 27 years later, right? So these instances where we're at, and being a multi-life intuitive, a spiritual counselor, being a medium, being an energy seer, being a Feng Shui advisor, walking through life, it's all about what do we do with ourselves? What do we do with the energies that we are? And when we're going forward and when we're doing these things, really look at who we have around us and what are they teaching us. Boundaries aren't always easy, and it's not a straight line to learn them. Many times, and that's the thing, lessons and experiences, it's not a straight line. Well, I learned that lesson. I don't have to learn it again. Oh, no, no, no. Lessons and time and experiences are circular. They come back around to make sure that we have them. And I'm going to tell you that if you've learned it down here, it's going to come up a little bit higher and a higher vibration. You're going to learn it again more in your spiritual walk, right? And if you learn it again, you're maybe a little bit higher in a spiritual experience. So how do you learn these things? Do you stay down here in the 3D world where it's basically, well, there's another fucked relationship. Well, what are you learning from it? You're going to go into another relationship so that you can learn that it's another screwed up relationship? Because the only way we can live this life is and do a better job and see the reason why we're here is to learn from things so we can become more enlightened. And that is the truth of why people are in our lives, is so that we can get more enlightened. Because I'm going to tell you, Veronica, witnessing you, Sue, witnessing life around us and others that you are watching, don't know you, but I have understandings of you that, that we have all evolved because we've looked at what is this here to teach me? Great mantra for relationships. What is this here to teach me? I had a conversation last night with someone. Ooh, this is teaching me. I need to really make sure that when I text somebody that I do it with intention, right? So I make sure I say the words I mean. Another thing that I had a conversation with somebody the other day, and I had to make sure, wait a minute. So there's something that I'm supposed to do. Remember that it's not a quick text. It's not a quick send. I cannot really do a quick send anymore. I need to really make sure that when I do something that I'm in integrity with it and I'm in alignment with it. Actually, that's what the energy is about right now too, is being in the now. Who are we now? What are we doing now, right? Who is it that we are now? So with that, I want you to know that you're loved. And through these relationships, we also have guides that are helping us. And they're going to put people and situations in our lives to help us to learn too. Because they're here to help us. It's a thing. It's a thing. And I can tell you that, when we are wanting to redo a contract, when we're wanting to redo life, when we're wanting to straighten our world, that's where we got to get it, that spiritual help. Because of the fact that we can't not always do it alone, and getting a different perspective, many times, finding a reason why these people are in our lives can really help us dance with the situation differently. So believe in who you are, believe in what we're doing, and there is a reason to be here, and it's to become more enlightened. So at this point in time in my show, I would love to pull some oracle cards for you. And when I pull oracle cards, the oracle cards are where I shuffle them and I put them. So on Instagram, if you would like an oracle card, what I end up doing is I shuffle for you, and you don't have to just say what card you want or what deck you want. And I will pull my decks here in just a minute, but I want to set up the intention here that when I pull out like 2 or 3 decks, you tell me what deck you want. And then when I tell you it's your turn, then you put the intention of what do you want to learn from that, right? And then the cards do that. And then I pull out a card and I either read from it or I know intuitively. Okay, so here I go. What decks want to come out today? This one here, the Path of the Soul is one that I'm going to pull out today. This deck is a really cool deck. It's very much the Path of the Soul. Let me make sure it's that way. Another one that I'm going to pull out is the Gentle Creatures. The Gentle Creatures. These are really neat. These are really neat decks. I love this deck. So soft and gentle. Okay. And then I think I have one more, and it's a dragon deck. Where is my dragon deck? Where is my dragon deck? Aha, here is the dragon deck. The dragons want to come out. So does anybody want a card? So either dragon deck, gentle creatures, or the path of the soul. And these are cards like this. They're just beautiful. Gentle creatures deck. Okay, Veronica, since you're the first one to speak up, I will do a card reading for you. So you know the rule, the intention here. So this is for you. I'm going to clear the deck and put the intention in. It's for Veronica for the greater good of what she needs. And I'm asking for cards to come. Thank you, Sue, for your heart. You're such a loving being. Thank you. Sue said dragon. Okay, so after Veronica here. If anybody on Instagram would like one, please speak up. Okay, Veronica, putting in your intention. There we go. Woo! Okay. Oh, it's this one. Wow. That one's... I'm going to pull this one too. That one's kind of whispering. May not read both of them. I'll text you with the second one, but we'll do this first one here. So this first one is stories. Stories. Isn't that cute? Two creatures in a tent. Stories. So I will read this. Stories. Stories. Okay. We all have stories to share. We all want someone to listen to them as much as we need authentic tales from them. Here, two friends have taken time to just get away from everything else. Now they enjoy the company of one another. In a perfect world, we all have someone who will listen to us. That companion who will simply hold space for us as we share our innermost thoughts. Then we will prefer them the same secret act of listening to them without judgment. We can all create this marvelous place. It may not be inside the tent lit by a lantern. It may not be the deepest part of some ancient forest. Wherever it is, the gift we can offer to one another is simply to hear each other's stories. When you share your story with authenticity, you return that gift. Isn't that wonderful? And that is the gift when you're building a really good relationship, is to be with someone, be authentically with them, listen to them, breath back, breath forward. And I'm going to tell you that these cards, if you don't ask for a card, some of these cards can be very much for you too. So as for one, as for all. Okay, so the next one is Kindred Spirits, Veronica. So you got two. Kindred Spirits. Go up to Kindred Spirits here. Okay. When is the last time you had a kupa with a friend? Tea, coffee, water? It doesn't matter what is in the cup. The gift lies with the holder of the handle. That is the true joy of the moment. Whether you gather to remember a friend, a moment, or to plan new adventures, make time to chat. This isn't the deepest discussion between our two here. She stopped by on a whim. They share their beverage with her. This spontaneous moment in a field is a gift they share. Rather than check the time, they gaze into each other's eyes. Excuse me. Oops, don't fall. They gaze into each other's eyes. This is intimacy that cannot be forced or manufactured. No one is judging them on how long they look or what they choose to talk about. You are being shown how to anchor yourself in this moment. If you don't have a convenient meadow to wander into, reach out to someone. Perhaps call that friend you haven't spoken to in a while. Maybe it will be someone you see every day. Whoever it is, give yourself the present of being present. You might speak to a stranger just to tell them you liked their hat, their smile, their shoelaces. Isn't it lovely when you can take a break to have a chat with another person? Do that today. Boy, Veronica, I think that this whole thing is about you going outwardly instead of staying inwardly. Because I know that when we are challenged in life, that we tend to go inward, but that is exactly the time that, stop in an aisle of soup and saying, if somebody's standing at the can of soup and you say, so what is your favorite can of soup? And they start talking to you. You never know. That little bit of conversation can bring enlightenment. And it's time to bring enlightenment, even if it's just for a moment. Thank you, Veronica. I hope that was helpful. Okay, Sue, does anybody else want cards? Dragon, you're very welcome, Veronica. Gentle creatures or the path of soul. So dragon. So Sue, I'm going to ask you cleanse the cards for the greater good with wisdom. Okay. So now Sue, you're going to put your intention into these cards. This is your turn. Thank you, everyone, for being with me. Woo! So right now, if you just joined, I'm pulling oracle cards. I had a message about relationships, so I'm going to post this video on many different places. And if you would like to re-listen to it, you can. I'm hoping it was a good show about relationships and why they're in our lives. Okay. Oh, here we go. Okay, so here you go. Okay, this card went on top. Ooh, freedom. Freedom, isn't that beautiful? Freedom, and you have another card too. This one's feeling right. The philosopher. The philosopher. Isn't that cool? The philosopher. Okay, so freedom and the philosopher. And these are Roman numerals. So freedom is number 10. 1x. Freedom. Let go and trust the process of life and the universe. Freedom. Freedom frequently appears when we have been kidding ourselves about a particular situation or a scenario we find ourselves in. You may be feeling overwhelmed with responsibility or trapped by a circumstance. Or maybe it is simply a feeling of disquiet and anxiety. She says, open your heart and you will see an inner truth of any situation. Don't be afraid of the truth, for it can be liberating as it is healing. Change is a single, consistent. Okay, let me start that one over again. Change is the single, consistent consistent in the world, and you have learned to fear that change. Let it go, for it is your gilded cage. Give yourself wings and come to fly with me. You can only be truly free once you release your strong need for control. She continues, be brave, follow your inner guidance. Only you can set yourself free. Let go and trust the process of life and the universe. Take time out, free some time for you to dance, play music, get back that yoga practice. Listen to water, catch the wind in your hair. Seek out places of quiet solitude in nature. Sit quietly and simply be. Okay. There's something about that, Sue. Yep. And there's some of that that's dealing with a lot of this energy that you've been in lately with the Kundalini, that sometimes it is hard to get moving after we've had a stagnant time of movement. And so it is about trusting the process of movement again. The philosopher. So this is freedom. Her, isn't it? Isn't she beautiful? She is truly beautiful. Let her help you fly. Okay, so the philosopher. So that's 10, 5. So 25. 23, 4, and 5. The philosopher. Oh, look at this. And that, oh my gosh, isn't that beautiful? Okay, the philosopher. This is for you, Sue. And whoever else this thing's true with you. Because sometimes cards come up for more than one person. You should follow that which you seek in your heart. This wise old dragon is all about learning and the direction your life is taking. Let me start that over. This wise old dragon is all about learning and the direction your life is taking. This can be in 3D physical world or in the metaphysical level. He shows up when you have been considering taking up any kind of study, whether you are returning to or continuing with formal education or undertaking personal or spiritual development. He came to me bringing a strong connection to Galileo and to the planets, the solar system, mathematics, and science. He says, one is never too old or young to learn. Set your sights high and reach for the stars, for you have much to gain from and to reveal to your learning patterns or partners. He has a particular affinity with the stars and is often associated with people learning the old arts, such as astrology, scrying, divination, as well as science. He goes on to say, you have been putting off that which you want to learn. Your self-doubt hinders you from following your passion and your true path. Your affinity with the old arts is starting point to your journey. Take this as a notice that you should follow that which you seek in your heart, for only then will you truly tend the steps of your destiny. His presence helps us navigate our world in a chosen direction. He becomes our compassion, our guiding star. When we are at a loss as what to come next, call upon his presence to help steer you forward. Wow. This resonates. Spirit has been teaching me big time. Thank you. Affinity with the stars. Woo! Yes, he's here to help you. So get that image. And I can tell you that he can help a lot of us what we're going through right now. So this dragon is here, the philosopher, to help us through our life right now. So call upon him if you believe in the universe of love that way, and he can really help you. Okay, so now for the last few minutes here, I'm going to pull one more card, and it's going to be with the path of the soul, because nobody else is. So I'm going to cleanse these. There we go. And this is for the path of the soul. This is just a general card for everyone. Okay, which card? I think it's this one. Wow. I love this one. So, that's the card. Okay, so number 10. 2, 3, 4, 5. Whoop, passed it. Work. This card relates to work. It describes working at what you are really here to do. It is about combining all your knowledge and gifts on both the physical and the spiritual plane, and utilizing both as a mean of earning a living. If you are not sure of what you are really here to do, this card is asking you to take action, and the rest will follow. The two worlds have come into an alignment, and it is time, and time has come. This card also shows you that you are on the right path. Everything is in proper balance. So, as above, as below, right? So, if you don't know who to be, just start being. And if you don't know who to be, try to be the kinder, more loving self, because that is our true nature of our soul, is to be loving and kind with good boundaries. Doesn't mean we have to be bad. It doesn't mean we have to be a walk on the park, right? Have good boundaries. And remember, a good mantra when you're working with people and situations, remember that, this is something that's here to teach me. What is here to teach me? And when we're in these dances of life, what is this here to teach me can always, always guide us to our better good. So remember, right now in our world, we're here to learn. It's really pushing our buttons to really discern what is our truth and not everybody else's truth. And as we're going forward, remember that love can heal. Love truly can heal, especially when there's no attachments to it. That true love, divine love, can heal. My love is with everyone. Remember, I'm Natasha Venter, a multi-life intuitive, a spiritual counselor who can really help you be you. And so if you are looking for any help, please go to angelicclarifications.com. I'd be grateful to support you in this journey. And I am live Mondays and Fridays on Facebook, on my YouTube channel. Mondays with Regan Forston, hypnotherapist. And we're going to be talking about love and relationships. And then on Wednesday, I don't know yet what we're going to be talking about next Wednesday at 4 o'clock Pacific time. If you like to listen to podcasts, these shows are on podcasts. Please listen to them on Life Clarifications with Natasha. Blessings all, and may you have a wonderful Memorial weekend here in the U.S. And thank you for doing all the work that you've done. Every one of you has done something to be remembered for. And I'm remembering some very, very dear family members who have really worked hard for helping our world be who we are. And I'm so grateful. And our show on Monday is actually on Memorial Day. I forgot to tell Regan that. So love to you and Blessings to you. And remember to ask for grace and ease in your life because that can help you. Bless it all.